So now that they got everything stripped from the pole screw is going to come in. Lots of clearance, pretty easy to just yank the pole out of the ground. Set the new one in, and then Steve-O is just going to drop those phases back down and can tie them in.
Hey everyone, in this video we're going to be taking a look at a pole and the same hole transfer using the kite. I wasn't directly involved in this entire job. I actually had a planner from the office with me in the truck that wanted to see how this particular work was done. She's normally involved with the scheduling of crews and jobs. So we stopped by the job site and I was able to get quite a bit of footage. So what we're looking at here first is that existing pole. It was probably a 45 footer, maybe a 40, and we're replacing it with a 50 footer. It's going to a double circuit, so there's going to be two runs of 3-phase primary, 12,470 volts. When prepping the pole, one of the first things the guys did was basically drop all the telephone down, all the services. You want to clear as much wire as you can. Dropping the service loops, pretty easy. This one here in particular is feeding a 400 amp entrance. Those two runs of 1/0 triplex are tied together at both the mast and the pole. So it's important before cutting them to make sure that, especially in older triplex, the hots are identified. That's why you can see the red tape. The newer triplex, there's a red line right on one of the black wires. The second service we dropped here, it's feeding a 60 amp entrance. This is old. If a permit was pulled at all on this home, they would absolutely have to upgrade to a minimum 100, likely a 200 amp entrance. So on the pole itself, you can see when we started recording, nothing was attached to the pole whatsoever. All the telephone drops were hanging down, all the triplex is secondary. There's even a transformer. We caught them removing the cross arm at the start of the video. While the cross arm was removed, the two outside phases were clipped right into the kite. Before he goes and removes that center phase, we can see Steve-O there. He's actually going to lock that down into the kite as well. Those little white bars on the side, those are rollers. So as you lift up, the conductor can easily roll within that keeper on the kite. So we've got our other fella up on the pole there now. He's going to untie that phase. So he was just kind of guiding the fella up because you don't want all the pressure from that center phase remaining on the pin so it could drop off and hit against that steel pin bracket. There's nothing else on the pole, so there's not likely to be a dead short or anything, but the pole is considered to be a second point of contact. So that's why you want to raise the pressure up into the keeper on the kite and also put that blanket around the pole, especially when removing the tie wire. Right now he's being careful removing that tie wire, not to drop that tie below the skirting of the insulator. You can see the pole actually jumped off to the left an inch or two there as it settled once that tie released. So he is wearing his class 2 20 kV gloves for this work, where that wire from face to ground is 7,200 volts. And he's helping guide Steve-O up and off that insulator. Kind of a bit of coordination between the two of them there. And what's really important, and some guys miss when lifting conductors, you can see Steve-O looking back at this structure here, and you can actually see his head going back and forth from the left to the right. Anytime you're lifting conductors hot like this, you absolutely have to keep an eye on your adjacent structures, just in case one of the ties break. Maybe you're starting to stretch out a lead a bit too far. There's leads going down to transformers, other phases, single phase sidelines. You want to make sure that you don't put unnecessary stress on that. Just like on this structure over here, this pole was already done last week. It might look a little funny, those risers going way up like 7 or 8 feet up to that top circuit. That's only temporary. That 3-phase takeoff down below, that'll be eventually tied into the bottom circuit once those conductors are run.
So now that they got everything stripped from the pole screw is going to come in. Lots of clearance, pretty easy to just yank the pole out of the ground. Set the new one in, and then Steve-O is just going to drop those phases back down and tie them in.
Also, they have a Hydrovac.
So when they remove the pole, we will be using a Hydrovac as opposed to the auger. You can see just off to the left there is a storm drain there. Our auger would definitely bust that all to pieces. Oftentimes, it's just easier anyhow to use a hydrovac when doing a pull in the same hole to just scoop up that gravel the width of the head of the hydrovac as opposed to the width of the auger. We're just going to pause the video here real quick, guys. I want to show you all something I've been working on. Pretty excited about this. In collaboration with the IBEW and Bobsdecline, we have officially released a limited edition challenge coin. The quality and detail in these coins is absolutely incredible. I also don't believe that it's morally correct or proper etiquette to sell challenge coins from the creator. And that's why we're collaborating on this one with Climbing for Kids, so that we can get some of these challenge coins out to you guys, the viewers. All you need to do is make a simple donation and pay for shipping of the coin. There will be zero profit from any of the parties involved in creating this coin, including myself. We're going to have more details on that very soon. So just going to take down the pole in a few sections. Not necessary. If it was a brand new pole, we'd likely try to salvage it. This pole's not going to be reused, so we're going to cut it down in a few chunks, just so when the pole crew removes it, it makes it a lot easier. They're not fighting with the overhead phases. You can see that staple popping out there, and as it is, that saw is extremely dull. He's having to kind of saw back and forth there. But you want to check all around the pole before using your saw.
I said Steve would be stuck up there, but I guess they did a transition.
So the next step will be to hydrovac the pole. I'm just getting a shot of the transformer here. A lot of times this is a great opportunity to change the transformer. This guy here is pretty new. You can actually see that new triplex I was talking about. That's got the red and blue lines on it there. Some of them came red and black, some red and blue. And you can see we also cut the pave with a chop saw there, just to make it a little easier instead of busting up that pave with the tip of the auger. There's the pole rolling in. The boys were just sitting back behind us a little ways. That is a 50-foot class 1 pole. Pretty much a requirement to go that height if we're doing a double circuit. And you've heard me refer to Hydrovac. For those that haven't seen it in my videos, it's basically a really strong vacuum and pressurized water. So generally speaking, that water comes out at extremely high pressure, so it'll break up the ground really good. In this case, where the pole's surrounded by tailings, it's going to eat her up pretty quick. The only challenge when using a hydrovac is roots. If you're close, like let's say we're in someone's backyard, which I've shown a few jobs in the past where you run out 100 feet of hose, both for the vacuum and the high pressure water, and you come across a dense area of tree roots, pretty much have to have a saw blade on the end of a stick to get through those. The water won't cut through the tree roots. But other than that, regardless of the ground, if it's real thick or rocky, or it'll suck the rocks right up through. We have a digging bar that'll break the rocks up and suck those out in chunks. Pretty clean, effective, makes a nice hole, not overly big. You can see the guys are also wearing face masks there. There's a lot of debris that comes flying up in your face. Extremely important to be wearing your PPE. So at this point in the job, we decided to take off. As I mentioned, I had a girl with me from the office, and it was a busy day, so took off and did a couple other jobs. And the foreman on site was going to give me a call once they were ready to set the pole, so she could see that as well. So at this point here, the hole's dug and they're getting ready to lift the pole. You'll notice the boom doesn't have any grabbers on it, and they're actually even using the fiberglass extension because of the height of the pole. The depth here, we're a little over 7 feet. The rule of thumb is 10% of the pole height plus 2 feet. So if it's a 50-foot pole, you go 5 foot plus 2, so you're 7 feet deep. That's just a pole ground that was kind of ripping off the old poles we put it in. When we set our poles, they're just checking for gain. Right now you want the gain to go line direction. And they're going to put the pole ground on the pole, but they're going to coil up and stapled off down below. It's just a shot of the generator that's on the auto transfer switch feeding that 400 amp entrance. But basically when you're setting the pole, you don't want that copper wire running right up the pole into the live stuff. So they've got that tied off about halfway up the pole. And also we have 3 pole guards. I'd have to double check the rating on the pole guards, but there's a huge safety factor. It's much, much higher than the 7,000 volts. We also left, you can see the rubber eels, the wire guards up in the primary. Just a shot here of the fiber op drops. So the guys actually unplugged the fiber from the box and labeled them along with the location they were plugged into. The fiber drops are pretty much plug and play. They go into that unit right there. So there was 2 of them they unplugged to get some extra slack. We try to do these jobs without having any of the telecoms guys on site and then just send them a bill for the work. But as I was mentioning about setting the pole, in this situation, our stuff's easy to navigate. We can drop our wires, spread the phases, lift up high. It's the communication lines that pose a challenge. So we drop the winch down in between the communication lines because there's some on the front, some on the back of the pole. We want to continue that arrangement for them. And with the telephone lines being so low, generally we'd grab the pole and the grabber from underneath everything and set it up. But with a 50-foot pole and those communication lines being so low, they're just using the winch and the fiberglass extension to kind of wiggle that up in place. It is a challenge. It's slow going. Quite a few comments, I showed a quick clip on Instagram, were mentioning about setting the pole with everything framed. We definitely do that at times, not overly often. If you're going to kick the butt of the pole and kick the top over, set it framed, nothing in the way, 100% easier for sure. I can agree with that. A situation like this, you can see it does go up right through the phases. It's just much easier to not have the cross arm up there in place. And especially in this pole, there's going to be 2 cross arms 7 feet apart. It's just as easy for the guys up in the air once the pole's set to hang that cross arm. It only takes a moment. You can also see the guys on the ground. Those are the guys from the pole crew. They have their 20 kV rubber gloves on. So it's absolutely a requirement when you're working the butt of that pole, helping drop it down into place. Even with the pole guard on the pole and the wire guards, you must wear your 20 kV gloves if touching that pole at any point. So I just captured that clip quick. If there's emergency responders traveling through your work area, I'm not sure if this is a universal rule, but in our jurisdiction, the traffic control are to keep their signs on stop on both ends, and it's up to the traffic control or up to the emergency vehicle to take it upon themselves to travel through that stop sign. So once that pole was set, pretty standard. The pole's going to go back together the same way it came apart. I wasn't able to capture that. We had to take off to another job. I did hand the phone over to our planner to get a shot of the job once they're done. And you can see here, they've got the transformer back on. Again, a flying tap going up to the top circuit that it'll eventually come down to the bottom circuit once all the new conductors are run. They're working on tying the communication lines back in now, and they will plug those fiber drops back in. That transformer is energized. All the power has been restored. You can even see the 400 amp customer. The wires are back over to the roof. Job is pretty well complete. Boys did really well. They got this job done from start to finish in about 5 hours. So thanks for stopping in. As always, guys, lots of great stuff up and coming, and we'll see you all soon.